When today's guest was first studying early childhood education at the University of Illinois, science didn't seem very interested in children under 3. But she really wanted to understand how the child's earliest years shaped the adult that child would become. Later, becoming a mother herself, she also knew how much energy it takes to be a parent, and she put all of that experience.
She voted for the legislative pay raise. This was, something that happened during that period, and she said, "I think you ought to take the job." And I said, "I don't want to." And I talked to some other people, and they all said, "You ought to take the job." And so finally, I decided maybe I ought to take the job. But Thompson, Thompson's was probably the smartest guy. Madigan's smart. Thompson's smarter. Thompson was probably the smartest guy I've ever been around. And he said, when he was offering me that, he said, I know you probably want to be governor someday. He said,
and you said?
Yeah, I said, no, I'm like you, I want to be president. But I was a little smart aleck at that point.
What if we try this? That's what needs to be supported in the early years. Academic, okay, you learn the alphabet and the day. I was just thinking about this. I was visiting a preschool somewhere, and most of the kids had gone outside, and one little girl was still sitting near the blackboard where they had a big calendar, and I said to her, "You did the calendar today?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "What day is it today?" She said, "Rainy." Another child, the teacher said to
really, because I was in coma a lot of the time, not all the time, but a lot of the time. But I came out, my leg was paralyzed, and I had a mental problem. I took speech therapy for 2 years. And I came out, I knew nothing else, and one of the first questions this speech therapist asked me, who discovered America? And I was trying to think, I should know that. I'm trying to think of that. And I was stalling. I said, "Would you mind repeating the question?" So she did. Well, anyway, to show you how bad it was, we had a little machine. She'd say, "Okay."
It's in how they've been taught to produce sound. And my teacher, like I said, he was making his career when radio was king. So he was singing oratorio, the sort of compromario tenor stuff at opera houses, and on the Carnation Breakfast Hour up in Chicago. So he would go from, singing, "Every Valley" with an orchestra to "Imagination is Funny," so what he told me is, healthy vocalism is healthy vocalism. Sometimes you use a large paintbrush and sometimes you use a small paintbrush.
After the war for things that they accomplished during the war. And I was like trying to boggle with my mind that I know that surviving members of that unit were actually invited to the White House. Yeah. My dad didn't go. I don't know for a fact if I would assume he would have been invited, but he didn't participate in any of those kind of functions at all. I wish now I kind of knew maybe why he didn't want any kind of recognition for this, that, or the other, because it leaves a lot of unanswered questions. But that was just, my dad was a complicated person.
I just think, I guess I trust this instinct in families to want to work things out. And will families look the way they looked 50 years ago? Never again. They won't. Will families still be a source of strength for kids? I think they will.
Yeah, well, there at the point we have to stop. I certainly appreciate you talking with us, and just I feel like saying, congratulations, just because of what you started in Decatur and about how now people are using that all over the place.
Thank you, and there's so much for us to learn every day about kids and families, and I appreciate you sharing that with me today.
Great pleasure, Quaddy. Thanks very much for being with us, and to you all, thanks for watching, and we hope that you will join us again next time for another edition of Illinois Pioneers.